everybody. This video is going to be about initial and medial k, using the K and the C, with spelling with K and C. First of all, before I get started and showing you how I work through the spelling notebook with my students, I'm going to show you some supplements that I use that make it a little easier for them and for you as you are teaching these spelling rules today. The first thing I use is what's called reminder cards. They're little cards. I put them on rings, and as I introduce each sound, then they place it on the ring, and they can carry these throughout the day in their classroom. If they're going to RTI, and they may need it in there, so they can always be referring back to their spelling rules. These can be found in my TPT store at Sherry Turnquist. You can look up, search Sherry Turnquist on TPT and find these there. I believe they're $3. And you can laminate them, cut them out, and place them on the ring. They're very good strategy cards for our students. Just so you know, the blue frame, they're either red or blue frame. The blue frame indicates initial medial rules, and the red frame indicates final rules. So that is one supplement that I use. The other is a great product from Miss Barlow's Phonics Stories. I believe you can find this on TPT at Susie Barlow, her store, and I think it's simply called Susie Barlow. And the Miss Barlow's Phonics Stories are absolutely great way to make connections, for the kids to make connections to the letters and the sounds. And this particular story that I will use with my students when I introduce K and C in initial medial talks about how C had to, was out fishing on the day that the letter lady came and gave the sounds to the alphabet. And the letters in the alphabet. So she didn't have a sound, and she had to go through asking the letters if she could borrow their sound. And when she came to kind K, who is the kindest letter in the alphabet, he allowed her, he said, sure, you can borrow my sound, but we have to have some guidelines. And these guidelines are also spoken, these rules, spelling rules, are spoken in these stories, and the kids really connect with that, and they always ask me, is there a story with the sound that we're going to be learning for the day? Also, these stories look so great. They're perfect for pre-K through second grade, I would say, for sure. But I do read them to my 3rd and 4th graders. I use them in the lessons of the 3rd and 4th graders that I teach, and they ask every time. They love them too. So I don't think they're too young for, even, some of our 3rd and 4th grade students. So, try it out. You know your students best, but definitely pre-K through 2nd grade. These are absolutely perfect if you have struggling kiddos, or if you're just introducing sounds to the students, their alphabet and pre-K and different things like that, and wanting them to make connections between sounds and letters. This is a great tool to use along with what other curriculum that you are using. So two great things to use. All right, so initial medial k. So this will be the page in your student notebook that will talk about K and C in initial medial position, and also CK, K, and C in final positions. Today I'm just going to talk about initial medial. Okay, so this is how I would go about doing this. On every page, if you haven't seen one of my spelling notebook lessons before, the top of the page of the student notebook looks like this. It has a bubble, and then it has initial, medial, and final. That's what I, M, and F stand for the different positions in a word, and we're going to talk about the sound in each position. Okay, so the sound bubble, we're going to write the letter that represents that sound. And today, since we're talking about K, represents that sound. So we write K for the sound of K every time. Okay. So in initial position, this is what I would write. Okay. Now I'm writing this. This is already printed out. Most of this is printed. The sound bubble is. The student will write the K in there. This represents K is spelled, and then they have a line, blank line. So how is K spelled in initial medial? One way is K. So we're going to write that down because that letter owns this sound. It's going to say K all the time. Okay? So we go to our reminder card. And I ask the students, when is K going to make the K sound in a word? And they read before E, I, or Y. So we're going to write that in our notebook. Okay, so it's always there. Before E, I, and Y. Then we're going to brainstorm a word. And you may guide them in the teacher guide and the student notebook teacher guide. I've given you, some words that you could use. So it might be kite. The kids are probably going to come up with a great word. If they don't, that's also a good opportunity for teaching. Say they come up with cat, and most of them are going to know otherwise, but this is just an example. So you would unblend, go with it, and unblend. At. Now what's the rule for, let's go back to our reminder card. What's the rule for spelling with K? It comes before E, I, or Y. Let's go back to cat. At. What's coming after, or what is the K sound coming before? Ah. What spells ah? A. Ooh, that can't work, can it? Okay, let's go on, move on to another word. And so that's just helping them think through when they're spelling a word that they don't know, and they're sounding it out first, then they're going to be paying more attention to those sounds. You're training them to pay attention to the sounds first. I always tell my students that in spelling begins with the ears, not the eyes, not your pencil and paper. Okay? Listen to the sounds first, get them in order, and then put them on the page. You're not going to have to do that for every word, but when you don't know a word, or you're trying to do your best spelling in a final copy, of a written assignment that you have, this is the strategies that you want to use. Okay? So let's say kite, and somewhere over here you will, the children out to the side will write, and there's plenty of room on their spelling notebook page for that. Okay? So medial, I have these up here, but I usually just write it, because I need a lot of room, I write big. All right, so we're still in initial. Now we're going to write the spelling for, the second spelling for K in initial position. So they're going to have to write this, again, right underneath. I have them line it up. The K represents the K sound in the sound bubble. K is spelled. How else is it spelled? We can use our reminder card, C. Okay, when do we use C? Go to our reminder card, we read before A, O, U, or any consonant. Let's write that down. Before A, O, U, or any consonant. Now I like to abbreviate as much as I can so our student notebook is not so wordy. I tell the kids a capital C underlined with a period means consonant. If they want to write the word consonant out, that's fine, they can do that. It's going to be on their reminder card. They can copy it right off of there. It's up to them. But if they don't want a lot of verbiage, or if a child has a hard time, maybe they're dysgraphic or they have a hard time writing, you can just do the abbreviations for them. Okay? And then you'll brainstorm a word for initial K, okay? Which could be cat, or it could be, they're going to probably come up with a lot of different words that you can use. And, unblend, use the strategies. Now, what I do up here is I just erase this on these long ones that we have to write, these sounds that share letters, and I write medial. Of course, the kids, they're going to move down on theirs. They're going to rewrite this again. Okay? We're going to come up with new words for the sound in middle position. Okay? So they just go through middle position. They're going to rewrite this, the same exact rules, and then we're going to come up with new words. So maybe for medial, K, be skit, sk, it. What do we hear after the K, it? Oop, that'll work. Okay? So then we write it. How do you spell that? And then they can spell. And they can write it down too. Sometimes I have them spell it out loud. Okay? C is a little different for sometimes, maybe a little harder. So sometimes I give them a word, or and sometimes they surprise me and come up with a great word. Scat would be a great word. Okay, scat. We write it down. Okay, so that's initial, medial in the student spelling notebook. This is also in my TPT store under Sherry Turnquist. It comes complete with a teacher guide, and you can print that off and have everything you need to work through it, and have your words and exactly how the student notebook is supposed to look. It also has a teaching guide and curriculum overview, so if you want to teach this for 4 weeks or you have 6 weeks that you want to teach this, and it kind of breaks it down to what you need to do in order to teach this. I recommend at least 4 days a week of teaching this, 30 minutes a day at the most, and that usually will guarantee a good 4 to 6 week time period to finish the notebook with your students. And then they have that notebook. It's a great way to do it at the beginning of the year, and then use that student notebook throughout the entire day and throughout the entire year, so that they're constantly looking back, reminding themselves of the sounds, when we use those sounds. It's an excellent program.